fight against systemic corruption. Maraming salamat at kami po ay excited na makinig mula sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Congresswoman Sara. Nais naman natin pakinggan ang kinatawan ng 3rd District ng Bukidnon, Representative John Keith Flores.
May hapon sa tanan. Ako isa ka produkto sa isa pod ka pamilya nga naay dugay na sa politika. Sa pod ko ka produkto sa UP Cebu. Una din ni karon nawagan sa inyo nga dapat suportahan ninyo yung mga lain-lain nga bills na din ni karon. Kay kung walang pressure gikan sa katawhan, dili pud ni mapasa nga balaod. Kung inyo ning kalimtan, inyo pong kalimtan nga amo ning gi-file nga mga bills. The more nga inyo i-pressure ang mga katawhan nga botaran kini o suportaran kini, the more mapugos ang mga members sa Congress o members sa Senado nga ipasa kini long time overdue na bill ang kaning anti-political dynasty. Kung dili niyo suportahan sa nga mapamaagi, kani gihapon mga pamilya kani gihapon mga apelyido ang inyong makit-an sa pipila ka tuig mo balik din sa inyo mga utana about ng political dynasty. Dili gihapon maundang mga kaigsunan, no? Mao gihapon ning mga dili magaling naong, pero mao gihapon mga apelyido ang inyong makita. Kung dili ni pasa, kung dili ni mapasa karon. Daghang salamat.
Parang ako yung tinuturo mo dyan. Okay. Thank you very much, Congressman Flores. Gusto naman natin kung marinig mula sa kinatawan ng Caloocan City, Representative Edgar Elise.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. Magandang umaga po sa mga kapwa ko kinatawan sa Kongreso, mga guro at mga kapwa ko kabataan ng UP. Magandang umaga po. This is now my 5th term in Congress, and I've consistently fought for the enactment of the anti-political dynasty law. Not only a sworn duty to uphold Article 2, Section 26 of the 1987 Constitution, but as part of my lifelong battle against political dynasties. My advocacy against political dynasties predates the 1987 Constitution. For more than 4 decades, I have fought entrenched dynasties in my city, Caloocan. Personal ko pong naranasan bilang isang ordinaryong kabataan noon, walang sikat na apelyido, mahirap, walang kamag-anak na politiko, kung papaano ako hamakin, alipustahin at takutin bilang isang taong gustong maglingkod lang sa bayan. Alam ko kung paano sumuot sa butas ng karayom upang makapasok lang sa paglilingkod sa bayan. I was bullied. I was chased by goons. My family was threatened. Our headquarters were ransacked. My supporters were hurt and intimidated. Barangay and youth officials who supported me were suspended, harassed, and punished. These are not theories to me. Ito ay buhay na karanasan. That is why I know, both in my heart and in my mind, that mindset of entrenched political dynasties. Their mindset revolves around entitlement. They see themselves as natural leaders, as if governance is a family inheritance and a divine right. They convince themselves that the people cannot thrive without their continued presence. And this mindset weakens democracy. Lumakas at tumaba ang mga political dynasties noong panahon ng rehimeng Marcos. The dictatorship found it convenient to sustain regional and provincial dynasties to remain in power and suppress dissent. The principle was simple. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And we both remain in power. In doing so, public funds became dangerous tools to perpetuate dynasties. Principles of public finance were ignored. All that mattered was to stay in power. The result, from being the second biggest economy in Asia in the 1960s, na pag-iwanan na po tayo, na mga bansang malayo ang ekonomiya sa atin noon. The poorest communities in our country are ruled by political dynasties. The wisdom of the framers of the 1987 Constitution was precisely to dismantle these dynasties because they block progress, monopolize power, and deny equal access to ordinary Filipinos who have the talent, the skills, and integrity to lead. My colleagues, let us not forget the violence born out of greed for power. The assassination of Senator Ninoy Aquino in 1983. The killing of Evelio Javier of Antique. The Maguindanao Massacre in 2009. And many others whose names history may not fully remember, but whose blood stains our democracy. My version of the anti-political dynasty bill is the product of persistent and principled advocacy. In fact, this was the first proposal that passed the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms in 2013. It reached the plenary, was debated, but was eventually archived because the process of political dynasties refused to surrender even a single vestige of their power. At yan din po, yung mararanasan natin ngayon. This proposal is a reasonable and enforceable compromise. It allows only 2 members of the family to hold public office simultaneously, one at the national level and one at the local level. If passed, fat dynasties will definitely disappear. It limits the prohibition to the second degree of consanguinity, meaning it applies only to the immediate family household, mag-ama, maglolo, magkakapatid, at kanilang mga asawa. Beyond the household, enforceability becomes unrealistic and arbitrary. Hindi makatwiran at hindi epektibo kung pati magpipinsan at mas malayo ka mag-anak, mga apo sa tuhod ay babawalan. Fourth degree of consanguinity is impossible to implement. Mayor, Vice Mayor Osmeña. Gandang hapon po. Imagine kung 5 magpipinsan ang tumakbo ng sabay-sabay. Sino ang hindi papayagan? First come, first serve? 1 linggo pa lang bago simula ng filing ng certificates of candidacies, pipila na. Mag-aaway kung sino nauna. At ang pinakamasama, paano kung yung nauna ay yung hindi pinakamagaling? Baka magpatayan pa. It will turn the COMELEC into a genealogical tribunal. Kung ang iyong immediate family ay hindi magkasundo at sabay-sabay kayong kumandidato, pare-pareho kayong madidisqualify sa aking panukala. Simple lang ang aking katwiran. Kung ang sarili mong pamilya ay hindi mo kayang pagkaisahin, pamunuan, ano mo mapapagkaisa ang bayan? This man, away, nagmumurahan, mag-ama, nagbabastusan, at minsan, nagpapatayan pa dahil lang sa kapangyarihan. There are good dynasties who brought progress in their localities, but they are exceptions rather than the rule. If they are truly good, then 1 or 2 of them can lead the government, for the rest of them can choose other careers that can help their community. Good dynasties have no monopoly of talent. Paano lalabas ang mas magaling kung sila na lang lagi? Paano lalabas yung pinakamagaling kung sila na lang lagi? The bill now fulfills our constitutional duty as we see them as a consequence of decades of our inaction. Ghost projects, political, social aid, and the mismanagement of public finance. Tama na po. Sobra na po. Ngayon na po. Tulungan niyo po kami. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Boss Congressman Edgar Erice. First, we'd like to, of course, acknowledge former Mayor of Cebu City and now Vice Mayor Tommy Osmeña. Daghang salamat, sir, sa imong pag-join sa among karon dawa. Now, may we hear from Congressman Dino Tanhuatco from Rizal.
Maraming salamat, Chair. With your permission, colleagues, to our gracious hosts, the UP, Cebu, Vice Mayor Tammy Osmeña, and of course our colleague, Congresswoman QT Del Mar, sa lahat ng mga estudyante dito sa UP, sa lahat ng mga iba't ibang sektor na naimbita ngayong umaga at hapon, maraming salamat. They say that every journey starts with a first step. And I think we give credit to the present Speaker of the House of Representatives, Speaker Faustino Bojidi III, as well as Majority Leaders, Floor Leader Sandro Marcos, who initiated this movement or this action to be for the House, especially the committee led by Congressman Zia, to hold these public consultations and start getting a consensus, the consensus building on the issue of political dynasty. We all know that there is this concept, political dynasty, that needs to be defined clearly, and if we are to put life into our Constitution, we have to engage the public, engage all stakeholders to be able to come up with a final law or final piece of legislation that will be able to enable the provisions of the Constitution. Kaya maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. We need your inputs. This cannot be done only by the legislative body, but it has to be a result of consensus building. And that's why we appreciate your presence. We appreciate the hosting by UP, by the city. We appreciate the efforts by the committee. And we are more than excited to hear what you can say. Maraming salamat po at maayong buntag sa inyo lahat.
Maraming salamat, Congressman Tanhuatco. Now, certainly not the least, sabi nga nila, the last but certainly not the least, Congressman Pido Garbin.
Thank you. Magandang maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. Tama ba? And to the UP Cebu, our Chancellor, and to all the students who are here this afternoon, salamat po sa ating host, Congressman QT Del Mar, and my colleague in the 15th Congress, Vice Mayor Tammy Osmeña. Gandang hapon ho. Ours is a Republican state. Sovereignty resides in the people, and all government authorities emanate from them. And that's why we are here this afternoon to hear the sentiment and fulfill the mandate of the Filipino people under our Constitution. We have what we call the anti-political dynasty provision, a mandate where we can find in Section 26, Article 2 of the 1987 Constitution. This aims to promote democratic competition, but this policy is not self-executing, and that's why we have this 24 bills in the committee in order to come up with a definition, an enabling law that will pursue the demand, that constitutional demand. We want to broaden political participation and at the same time to limit the concentration of power sa nagkakailang pamilya lamang. But we want to make sure that this electoral reform should be real, makatotohanan, pangmatagalan, and something that can withstand judicial scrutiny. Salamat po. Magandang hapon.
Salamat, Kong Pido. Lahat naman ata nakapagsalita. So now, may we ask yes, Ma'am Carla to please moderate. So, si Ma'am Carla po, she'll be calling your the individual participants, the names and the organizations. Mag-intermission muna. Okay. Ikaw yung mag-intermission?
Pwede rin naman, sir.
Okay, so now we will now open to call all the participants will be.
Sir. Intermission first.
I'm sorry.
Intermission.
Okay, there's an intermission. Okay, sige. Okay.
Because it's getting hot in here, and we are so serious about really important topics. and issues, we will want to call on our performances from the brilliant groups here in the University of the Philippines, Cebu, presenting a lively and graceful performance entitled Pandango sa Wasiwas, a vibrant dance filled with flowing movements and radiant energy, celebrating harmony, rhythm, and Filipino artistry. Let us give it up for Escultura of the University of the Philippines, Cebu. Wow. You have it so easy, guys. During our time, it was an actual fire inside those cups. Now that's, I suppose, LED lights. My God, there's no getting burnt part of the program. All right, our next performer is the UP Cebu Dance Sport Varsity Team. Thank you so much. Such wonderful dancers. So now, while lunch is being served to our authors and our honorable representatives, I wish to open the period of manifestations from all of you, from the different organizations that registered So if you wish to speak, all you have to do is approach me so we can put you on the list. The first is the University Student Council Chair of the University of the Philippines, Cebu, Student Council Vice Chair, Ms. Athena Romulo. Yes.
Good afternoon. Ayan po, isang mapagpalayang hapon po sa lahat. Ako nga po pala si Athena Romulo, ang kasulukuyang Vice Chairperson ng UP Cebu University Student Council. Isang manifestation po mula sa amin na kami po ay naniniwala na talaga na ang education is a right. Hindi pribilehiyo na ipinagkakaloob ng mga nasa kapangyarihan. Ngunit sa kabila nito, nananatiling kapos pa rin ang budget sa education. Kulang ang aming mga silid-aralan, mababa ang sahod ng mga guro, at pasan ng estudyante ang gasto sa pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan para makapag-aral. Dito po sa UP Cebu, danas namin ang kakulangan ng aming mga espasyo kung saan makapagpapatuloy sana ang mga eskolar ng bayan sa kanilang pag-aaral at pagseserbisyo sa mga tao. Umaabot na sa punto na kung saan yung mga students po namin ay nagko-compete o nag-aaway pa kung sino pa yung mas deserving na gumamit sa mga student spaces na ito para lang makapag-aral at para ma-utilize ito sa kanilang mga activities. Kulang din po ang iba pang mga facilities namin, basic services namin dito. For example, sa mga athletes, equipments at para sa mga laboratories. Ngayon po, hindi po ito kakulangan sa pondo. Ito po ay kakulangan sa paninindigan, sa pagpaprioritize sa education na nag-uugat sa existence of political dynasties. Kasi po ang mga political dynasties sa ating gobyerno ay siyang nagmamonopolize ng kapangyarihan nila sa Estado. Concentration of power. Pinag-prioritize self-preservation and control, hindi ang basic social services na dapat natatamasa sana ng mga estudyante. At malinaw po, hindi naging priority ng mga dinastiya na iyan ang edukasyon. Sa halip na mapunta ang budget sa paaralan, guro at estudyante, ang pondo ay nare-redirect sa mga pork barrel projects. Ang pondo ay ginagamit sa mga infrastructures na magbe-benefit ng political visibility para lang sa mga pangalan ng mga corrupt na officials na ito at hindi ang para sa pagkatuto ng mga estudyante. Itinutulak ng isang commercialized na education. Kasabay nito ay itinutulak din ng political dynasty ang commercialization ng ating edukasyon. Kapag kulang ang suporta ng pampublikong paaralan, napipilitan ang kabataan na umasa sa mga pribadong edukasyon ng mga institusyon na hindi naman hindi kaya ng mga masa. Sa ganitong sistema, ang edukasyon ay nagiging negosyo po. Ang edukasyon ay hindi siyang nagiging serbisyo. Kaya ang resulta, na pag-iiwanan ang mga anak ng ating masa ng mga magsasaka, mga manggagawa at mga maralita. Habang pinapanatili ang murang lakas paggawa at tahimik na mga mamamayan. Kaya malinaw po ang naging panawagan natin na sa pag-expose po nito at sa pag-stop po ng political dynasty sa pamamaraan ng pagpasa ng bill na ito, sana'y maging malinaw din po sa atin na kung totoong pinaprioritize at pinapahalagan po ang right to education sa mga estudyante, naway bigyan po tayo ng sapat na pondo sa edukasyon. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat.
Thank you, Athena.
Carla, wait lang. Just to respond to that, for the information of everyone, in 2026 budget, educational sector has the highest funding. It's more than, I guess, more than 100 plus trillion budget for education. Yeah, that is also in compliance with what the Constitution states. So, thank you very much. Are you in favor of this measure? Just want to get your response to that. Categorical, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would also like to respond for Sorry.
That's an information. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. The next...
We wish to remind our manifestors that really time is finite. So we have to be brief. You know, if we want to get the message across, you cannot say it 8 times. Just say it once and we're listening. All right. Okay. The next manifestor would be the chapter president of the UP Academic Employees, Mr. Noe Santillan. Magandang hapon po, Mr. Santillan.
Mayong hapon, usa ka mapaling gawas nun, nga hapon, kanatong tanan. O daghang salamat sa higayon nga magkaatubangay og mga tao nga sama ninyo. Sa tibuok na mong kinabuhi, taod-taod na pud mi sa union, panagsara mi makahalubilo og mga sama ninyo nga tao. Sa dili pa nako basahon ang sobra 300 lang kapulong statement gikan sa chapter sa Academic Union, tuguti ko sa pagtubag as the president of the chapter of the All UP Academic Employees Union to respond to the response of the Honorable Adyong from the neighboring islands of Mindanao. Despite the claim of every administration that education sector got the biggest chunk of the national annual expenditure, yet it falls short from the standards set, for example, by UNESCO and World Bank, namely that it must reach at least the so-called 20% of the annual national expenditure. Correct me if I got it wrong, but as far as my memory is concerned, we never reached that standard as set by the following organizations. We fall short.
Sorry to cut you off, sir. Sir, we want to hear from you your position on anti-political dynasty.
Yeah.
We can discuss about other things like the budget.
I'm done.
But I would like to please. We are pressed with time. There will be a lot of participants who would like also to speak out. We are here to precisely hear you. What is your position on political dynasty?
Yes, this is it.
Yeah, can we at least limit our discussion on that?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Of the 18 House bills and of the 6 main versions filed during the 20th Congress, the All UP Academic Employees Union, UP Cebu Chapter, supports the House Bill 209, filed by Representatives Antonio Tino of ACT Teachers Party List and Rene Loico of Kabataan Party List, and the House Bill 4784 filed by Sarah Jane Ilago of Gabriela Women's Party. After careful scrutiny of the aforementioned House bills, at least we reached 18. As to the similarities and differences of these bills, we in the Academic Union of UP Cebu find those bills that are numbered 209 and 4784. They are simple to understand by the ordinary citizens, yet the most progressive to encompass prohibiting political dynasty regardless of classification, borrowing the terms and concepts of Boholyo Tihanke, regardless of classification, either slim or fat, and either traditional or emerging dynasty. It is in this regard that we in the Academic Union agree with the proposal of the Makabayan Bloc to prohibit any succession or any simultaneous running and holding of any office from the national to the local level within the 4th degree of consanguinity or affinity. Hence, the Academic Union of UP Cebu maintains that there must be no political dynasty at all levels and that neither simultaneous running nor simultaneous holding of office nor succession of office within the 4th degree of consanguinity or affinity. It is already over a century since the modern Principalia, to borrow the term of Dante Simbulan, since the modern Principalia rules this country, and a quarter of a century, 25 years since an anti-political dynasty measure, House Bill 463, was filed by Bayan Muna in the 12th Congress in 2001. And it took 10 years, a decade, for that House Bill 463 by Bayan Muna to reach the committee level. The Constitution will turn 40 years old next year.
It is already overdue to address the malady of the political dynasty and maximize the aims of the Constitution, particularly Article 2, Section 26. Thank you very much.
All right. Our next manifester would be the faculty of the University of San Carlos, Cebu, Professor Grace Magalzo Buwalat. May we call on Professor Magalzo Buwalat, please.
Sorry po, nalito ako sa microphone. So magandang hapon po sa lahat. Maayong hapon, mayong adlaw kanatong tanan. So I am Grace from the University of San Carlos. I would like to manifest that the debate, whether you are pro or anti-political dynasty, should not devolve into simplistic binaries of good versus bad. Instead, the central questions are the following. How do we strengthen democratic competition while respecting constitutional rights? How do we ensure that governance is both stable and accountable? How do we cultivate leadership that is acceptable to citizens beyond established families? The University of San Carlos, and I am certain most, if not all, HEIs in Cebu as well, support anti-political dynasty measures that would include, among others, number one, passage of anti-political dynasty law now, just in time for the 2028 national and local elections. As mentioned, 24 measures have already been filed before the committee. We are positive that after 39 years, the time is now. The law must include both thin and fat political dynasties in the context of succession and consolidation. If Congress continues to sleep on its job, a charter change through a constitutional convention must finally make the prohibition self-executory. However, the problem cannot be solved with just the anti-political dynasty law. We need to strengthen political parties. This could help counter dynastic tendencies by fostering internal political party democracy and promoting merit-based selection of candidates, and can provide alternative avenues for political advancement outside of family networks. Please institutionalize electoral reforms. This could include campaign finance regulations to level the playing field, ensuring that candidates without vast family wealth can still compete effectively. And finally, support voter education program. This would educate citizens on the implications of dynastic politics and empower them to make informed choices. Academic scholars have highlighted the link between political dynasties and poor governance, poverty and corruption, and slow development. When political positions are treated as inherited rights rather than public trust, accountability can diminish. Decisions may be made to benefit family interests rather than the welfare of the broader populace. Political dynasty pose a significant threat to our democracy and good governance in the Philippines. When I was serving chair of the USC Department of Political Science, I conducted countless interviews with prospective students, yet one has remained with me. As part of the usual exchange, I asked the young applicant why he wished to pursue a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Without hesitation, he replied, "Because my father told me I will be the next mayor of our municipality after his term." We need and we must put an end to this entitlement. Political power is a public trust, not a family heirloom to be passed from one surname to another. A democracy that belongs to the people must never be inherited by a few. but to be very candid about it, we are happy to see products of political dynasty with us this morning fighting for anti-political dynasty measures. And that for us is a positive development. Again, pass the anti-political dynasty now in time for the 2028 national and local elections. Daghang salamat for this opportunity to participate.
Our next speaker is Adi Balimbingan, a BA Communications student, like myself, 32 years ago. Yay! Maybe call Ms. Balimbingan.
Mayong Udto, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Adi, a BA Communications student, a member of the Lantugi Debate Organization of UP Cebu. To the people of the House and to everyone, mayong pag-abot sa Cebu. And I'd also like to note that today is my birthday. So welcome here. Few manifestations. The anti-political dynasty bill specifically disallows people of the same surnames on the different provisions from 2nd to 4th degree, as per my research, to hold positions in the national and local level. I believe that partisan politics still favors of the most charismatic beyond the familiar surnames, making merits secondary. That means that we still question how do we then ensure that not only a law is institutionalized when partisan politics still exists, such as that we ensure merits will be considered primary in voting, because if one is to argue, Robin Padilla is a fresh surname, but he is not what the people truly deserve. Because in time for the anti-political dynasty bill, we have to question how does the passing changes the voting behavior of individuals in this country holistically. And as someone from the youth sector, a proud LGBT member, an scholar ng bayan, a Muslim of this country, we support the anti-dynasty law bill, but it must also look at the audacity of future servant leaders or politicians to be deserving, but to also actively include those individuals even from the islands of Batanes down to Tawi-Tawi. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is R.A.V. Fortuna. He writes here, a private citizen. Is R.A.V. Fortuna still here? Dito po tayo sa harap, sir. Lumapit po tayo sa mikropono. Opo, magandang hapon po sa inyo, sir.
Mayong hapon ka na itong tanan. First of all, allow me to request the members of Congress here 2 words: impeach her. I didn't say him, I said her. Let me go to my point. I'm sorry I have to speak English because I can only speak Cebuano. Kung gusto mo akong binisayon, kami rin ni Congressman Adjo ang magkasinabot. So, let me just say something. Let us make the law fit to the personality, culture, and mindset of the Filipinos. The Filipinos easily forget. They forget. Take note. I'm sorry, I am 72 years old, and so I was born 54, and in 1972, which was martial law year, I was already a college student. CIT. There are three things that I want added into this law or into this bill. Three things. Because all I hear from the radio and see on TV are only the consanguinity and affinity relations. What about the chronological limitations? What I mean is, if a person has been sitting in a position for 3 consecutive terms, allow for a space between that and the next relative. Allow for a space so that there will be no continuity of, like what the teacher from St. Carlos said, you will be the next mayor? Come on, man. Secondly, let there be a geographical limitation to it. Like, if there is a congressman from the 1st district of wherever, there shouldn't be a congressman of another district of the same name. There should be a barrier again. Congressman Cutie, I'm sorry, I'm from Mandawi and I am sick of the continuity of names there. Taga Mandawi Magogo, and I'm a senior citizen of Mandawi. And the third is really put it in the mindset of these people who want to perpetuate in power. Put it put it in the mindset. Let us criminalize the intent, the criminal intent and the malice of having to run, knowing that this law prohibits it. What is criminal intent? By letting them sign a waiver. If you will win, and you know that you are not qualified because of the provisions, you go to jail. The members of Congress may be smiling or happy or what, and may say, this guy is stupid. Because I am not a politician. I have never imagined myself to become a politician. I hate popularity. I don't want also to become an actor. Okay? So politics and acting are outside of my field. As I said, I'm from CIT, so I'm a technocrat. Talk to me. Talk to me about chemistry, about physics, about mathematics. I'll be very happy to talk with you. But please consider these three things that I ask you to include in the provisions. Punitive and penalizing provisions of your bill that you want to make. Maayong hapon, daghang kayong salamat.
We now call on Lazanax Lauron from the Alliance of Environmentalists and STEM Students for Inclusive Governance. Is Mr. Lauron here? Okay.
Maing buntag tanan. Well, I wrote this last night assuming na buntag unta magsugod, pero anyway. Ako si Lazanax Lauron. I live here in Cebu, but I'm currently a 4th-year biology student at UP Diliman. I am a member of the Alliance of Environmentalists and STEM Students for Inclusive Governance. Membro ako ng sektor ng kabataan at isa akong iskolar ng siyensya, ng saribuhay, ng ekolohiya at ng bayan.
Sir,
I will proceed with my points,
yeah,
sir.
can I just a request to allow our Vice Mayor to address the audience because he's leaving now, if it's okay with you. You can continue on after him, okay? Okay. At saka Elder, yang mas bata-bata ka naman eh. Show allow the senior. Mayor Osmeña, please.
Thank you very much. Maayong hapon ka ninyong tanan. I just want to assure you, I'm in favor of the Anti-Dynasty bill. As a matter of fact, think very clearly to help accelerate it. You can encourage one family member to run against another. That will allow many families to split up. I don't mind that, no. I'd like to thank the Cebuanos for giving me the opportunity, for having served you for so long. Give others a chance, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Osmeña, for gracing the affair. Sir, please continue. Sorry,
Okay lang. Okay. As a member of the general public participating in an otherwise historic moment, I am grateful for being given the opportunity to manifest this opinion, which is just as much a product of my own thought as the place and situation in which I inhabit. Before I provide broader remarks, I would like to provide a few direct notes on some technical aspects of the matter. From a cursory reading of the proposed House bills, some Senate bills, and the position papers that you have provided for us, I directly say the following. 1. The definition and prohibition of the political dynasty must not be based on any subjective criteria like good or bad or whatnot. It should also not be based on the presence of the incumbents alone, but should be defined simply in relation to the undivided set of all people who are holding, running, position to occupy via party list nomination, or whosoever filed ACOC to occupy any public office, be elective only or elective plus appointive. Nasa inyo na yan. On this point, NAMFREL's position paper is most informative. Some House bills say that it is okay for someone to occupy a local office even if they are related to some incumbent in national office. And some of those qualify that it is okay for this to happen so long as the local office is not in the hometown of the incumbent in national office or some such thing. The effect of such provisions would be an institutionalization of spread out political dynasties and not a successful prohibition. Not to mention that these may end up sounding less like a prohibition and more like a description of actually existing dynasties. These more geographical, administrative, or technical exceptions to this basic definition of the political dynasty relation will only make it harder for COMELEC to examine claims of violations to the APD or anti-political dynasty law. Any qualifications to this definition of political dynasty should be understood as nothing else but institutionalization of political dynasties. 2. On the matter of what degree of relations should be considered, there is no reason to really believe that the fourth degree of consanguinity or affinity cannot be pursued, provided that government agencies are empowered to examine up to this level. If I understand correctly, the Local Government Code of 1991 already prohibits officials from appointing people within the fourth degree of consanguinity or affinity. This is an anti-nepotism measure. So I do not really understand what all this fuss about enforceability is about. In effect, we'd also be questioning the enforceability of this nepotism prohibition. Beyond the appeal of harmonizing with this nepotism prohibition, this maximum prohibition on political dynasties should be pursued in order to have the best chances at unambiguously ending their chokehold on the politics of this country. 3. I also hope that you will heavily coordinate with COMELEC and PSA to make sure that the enforcement of the APD law is smooth, requiring sworn statements from the COC filer and empowering COMELEC to decide which persons remain within the set of non-dynastic individuals as proposed by Rep. Po, if I remember correctly, would be sufficiently responsive and would ensure that COMELEC can do its job with as little discretion as possible. So these matters should be discussed with COMELEC if they have not been done yet. The worst thing that could happen for this law is if the Supreme Court would decide that some provision is vague or faulty, effectively killing the APD law. Please consider how particular implementations of this prohibition might be challenged in the judiciary up to the Supreme Court perhaps. 4. The concrete effects of the APD law should be considered at least. What I mean to say is that we should also ask how political dynasties might respond to this legislation, and the reforms should be cognizant of this. My fear is that though dynasties may be effectively thinned by this law, political families would simply coordinate with each other, alternating with each other to run for public office. Whereas political power before may be secured by marriages, the introduction of the APD law may force these political families to coordinate with each other outside of the conceived relations of consanguinity, affinity, and other de facto relations. In light of this, I think the APD law is not enough and should be considered alongside reforms that increase the transparency of elections, like campaign finance reforms and ending bank secrecy for candidates, COC filers, and incumbents. These other reforms may not be necessary for defining political dynasties per se, but they are what make it sufficient in ending the reign of political dynasties, of corruption, and in finally creating a level playing field for our democracy. I think it is reasonable for the public to hope and expect that this committee will produce a draft bill that is much better than the ones currently floating around in Congress. It would be depressing to think that all this consultation was for naught, just because some legislators think that a few of them in Congress know better than the many citizens, experts, and organizations who now have been consulted for this law. I challenge this committee and Congress to follow through. Now, I also believe that having an opinion means having both an opinion for something and an opinion against something, and that those two are inseparable. So with that in mind, amidst the lack of a more deliberative forum, I would also like to use this opportunity to briefly intervene on certain ideas and opinions and try to eliminate what I perceive to be confusions on this matter. Please give me 5 more minutes.
No, that's too much of a that's 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah, but if you have like if you have a position paper, if you have that,
please submit it. Because we have a long list.
Okay.
Yeah, Carla, request na lang sa kanila.
Yes, kindly email the position paper to the Committee on Suffrage, and we will present it to the members.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next speaker is from Bayan, Central Visayas, by the name of Jaime Paglinawan.
Mga halangdong congressman sa 20th Congress, mga resource person, mga kaigsuunan ako dinhi sa Bulwagan sa University of the Philippines, mayong hapon natong tanan. Ang bagong Alyansa Makabayan, Central Visayas, nagrehistro itong public consultation na kailangan na ipasar, ibalaod ang anti-political dynasty. At kami nagsuporta sa House Bill 209, House Bill 4784 para buwagin ang mga political dynasty sa ating bansa. Grabe ka-insulto. Almost 40 years after the 1987 Constitution na binigyan tayo ng isang provision na kailangan walang political dynasty para equal yung mamayang Pilipino na pa-elect sa iba't ibang posisyon. Almost 40 years. Lumulubo, nilapad, lumalawak ang pamilya na nagkontrol sa iba't ibang posisyon. Si Ama naging gobernador ng batas. Bakit hindi nila pinasa ang mga panukalang batas para ipagbawal ang anti-political dynasty? So nakita natin ngayon, habang ang iba't ibang posisyon na kontrolado sa mga iilang pamilya lang, parang mana nila ang kanilang posisyon. Parang negosyo ang posisyon. At nangyari, bilyon na piso ang ninakaw. Tayo ang top 3 sa buong Southeast Asia na pinakakorap na bansa. Ito ay masakit na katotohanan. Dahil sa kontrolan sa mga pamilya, hindi natin kayang maimbestiga o mapriso man kahit kitang-kita na yung mga kinawatay sa pundo. Dahil sila rin ang nagdipinsahay. So mga halandong mga congressman, ipakita ninyo ngayon sa 20th Congress na kailangan ipasa ninyo ang tunay para sa tao, ang anti-political dynasty, para yung mga pangalan ninyo mailagay na kayo yung tingunahan ni Chairman Congressman Adjong, na kung mapasa ito sa 20th Congress, mailagay yung pangalan ninyo na kayo yung tunay nagmamalasakit sa mga mamayang Pilipino. Balik ko, we support House Bill 209, we support House Bill 4784, break the monopoly of elite rules and advance genuine democracy. Maraming salamat po.
Our next speakers are the members of CIT4, Cyan, Rom, and 2 others, most probably, from the Progressive Alliance of Concerned Technologies. The spelling is really wrong.
Sorry.
Exit. Okay. Hi.
Hello, we are the members of the Progressive Alliance of Concerned Technologians, or PAC CIT.
Technologians. See, that's why I'm so confused.
Yes, I'm sorry for the bad writing. First and foremost, we want to, with what I'm going to say right now, we want to relate our experiences as student activists and, I guess, victims of student repression to why we support an anti-political dynasty measure and why we support every single measure that aims to put transparency and institutionalize consequences to people who use our political system for their own greedy personal interests. We did a signature campaign to clamor for an open and public consultation on the tuition fee increase in CIT. under Cebu City Students' Rights and Welfare Ordinance, we are, we deserve that. A public...
Focus on political dynasties, please.
Yes.
We have lots of issues in the University of
I'll just
in this
give a little bit of
world.
experience.
We need the
before
political dynasty stand first, right now.
So the reason why we want to support the stance on anti-political dynasties, and again, every single measure that aims to put more consequences to those who use our system for corruption, who use our system to plunder our resources, is primarily for the fact that many people are suffering and deserve to have justice in their hands, right? Students like us who have been threatened with expulsion, we deserve justice, and we deserve it not just in school, we deserve it even outside of school. We deserve it because under our system, we are not the only victims. The victims include Charis Banyes, who was wrongfully imprisoned in Agusan del Norte, or Agusan del Sur, in Agusan. Some of these victims include Frenchie May Cumpio, a journalist who was imprisoned in Eastern Visayas, and many more, including Miles Albacin, who has recently been released, Alvin Fortaleza, who has recently been released. These